committee, just getting everybody together, and let's start. Bob, you on the Zoom. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Gardner. I prefer to go by Gardner. I am the co-chair for the Professional Development Committee with New York State School Counselors Association, and I want you all to welcome to our webinar on tapping the leader within, from self to systems with Dr. Keisha Bryant. Uh, she is amazing at so many things that she does. She has, and I'll read her bio, right? Because let's hype her up, right? Dr. Keisha Bryant is the CEO of Enliven Counseling and Consulting PLLC, a counselor educator, licensed clinical mental health counselor, and consultant. She is dedicated to helping individuals and organizations overcome barriers to well-being, specializing in working with women in transition and leaders. She brings over 20 years of experience as a practitioner in diverse settings. Currently, she serves as the State School Counselor Consulting at the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, NCDPI, and is a board member of the North Carolina School Counselor Association. Her dedication extends to championing mental health support within underrepresented communities and advocating for best practices in educational, organizational, and community settings for students and adult wellness. Listen, I can't wait for her to tell y'all about how her journey got her here to teaching us about being better leaders. And over the last few weeks in the Monday check-ins with counselors, leadership and just understanding how to work within other leaders has been so pivotal. It's been a huge conversation. So I'm so happy that you're here taking us through this. And this advocacy for yourself, once you learn who you are, then you can advocate for everybody else around you.
Look, don't be stealing the presentation.
Go ahead. Without further ado, please, Dr. Keisha Bryant, take over.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to get started. I'm so excited to be here with my other N family. So I'm NC and you all are NY. So excited to be in this space with you all this evening. Let's see. We're going to get started. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can. You are good to
Okay.
go.
So tonight, this evening, over the next hour or so, we're going to talk about tapping the leader within from self to systems. And so to start, I want to tell you a little bit about my leadership journey that brought me here for this interest, for this talk, for this time, and just my evolution as a leader from self to system. So who is Dr. Keisha? First and foremost, I am a former school counselor, 20 years in the state of North Carolina, middle and high school, early college, various settings from a magnet to traditional to early college. My last stint was at a all-girls leadership academy here in the state of North Carolina. And that's really where my love for tapping the leader within started as a leader because our theme was leadership practices. And there, I began to evolve on a greater level as a school counselor leader, being the lead school counselor in my building, really leading professional learning spaces, but also having a hunger and being in a culture that promoted leadership practices, one which I'm going to share today. Other areas in which I lead as a small business owner, so I work with community and business leaders. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor. Currently, I lead on systemic levels and district levels as a state school counseling consultant, but also I lead in other settings. I lead in my home. I am a proud mother and a new grandmother of Journey Noel. And so professionally, I lead both personally and professionally. So leadership is not just confined to my professional space, it also is in my personal space. And tonight we're really going to talk about from a lens of blending the two of personal and professional when we talk about tapping into the leadership within from self to systems. So I've told you who I am. I want to know where it is that you lead. So I am going to ask that you take 1 minute to write your list in the chat, but do not hit submit yet. And then we're going to flood the chat. And I want to see where are the different areas that you lead personally and professionally. I've given you just a few of the areas that I lead, but tell me where you lead in your life. Hold off. There's always an advanced person.
That was me. You see, and I wasn't even supposed to see how I deleted it. It's not even there anymore.
But right where you lead, tell me where you lead. So I lead. I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I'm a state lead. I'm a board member. I'm on advisory. I lead a business. I lead in my faith-based organization. Where do you lead? 10 more seconds, and then I want you to flood the chat and let's see in our virtual learning space where we are leading across the state of New York. And I see North Carolina. Tanisha, it's good to see a familiar name on this call. But when we look at our end states, North Carolina, New York, where do you lead? And take a moment to peruse and see where your fellow mates are leading. So, professors, so in educational spaces, other business owners, you are a mom, a wife, a sister, civic organizations, team member, presidents. So, leadership is not confined only to your professional space. So, when we talk about where we lead, it's important first to know where it is that you feel like you are defined as a leader. Tonight, we're going to kind of have this flow. We're going to start out by talking about why emotional intelligence and leadership. Why do the two go together? And then we're going to journey forward and we're going to go through some pillars and practices, a high level overview, and connect that to the layers of leadership that we're talking about from self to systems. And then we're going to conclude our evening with leadership growth commitment for this school year. Emotional intelligence. If someone on the street were to ask you emotional intelligence in 6 words, what would your 6 words be? In the chat, emotional intelligence. Finish that sentence. Emotional intelligence is. What would be your 6 words for emotional intelligence? Your 6 words for emotional intelligence. Put that in the chat for me. Your 6 words. Emotional intelligence is. I like that. Practicing situational awareness.
I thought emotional intelligence is was a part of the 6 words, so I just put.
Okay. So you
My
you
bad.
I
I
no
made it real
problem.
short and sweet.
No
My bad,
problem.
y'all.
Very good. We're all in this together. That made me want to sing. We're all in this together. Okay, I'm gonna leave that alone. But emotional intelligence, recognize and understand your emotions and others. Anyone else? Emotional intelligence is, how would you finish that sentence? Your 6 words. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds. Emotional intelligence is, we're all in this together. It's practicing situational awareness, aware of emotions, leading with empathy. Love it. Thank you, Ruth. Recognize and understand your emotions. And so Leans, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, really summarizes what is emotional intelligence. It's the ability to manage your own emotions and then the ability to manage the emotions of others. And so, as a school counselor, why emotional intelligence? It has been proven over the last several decades that being an emotionally intelligent leader has become a very essential skill if you want to be an effective leader. And so emotional intelligence has really made its charts. It's really kind of like the top five of leadership skills. Being an emotionally intelligent really shows high leadership effectiveness. And once you're able to master your own leadership as an emotionally intelligent leader, then we talk about impact and influence. And so when we talk about transformation and the connection between emotional intelligence and leadership, that transformational leadership really leads us into that self to systems, the influence that we have on teams and systems that we are immersed in. And so, as you can see, as a leader and an emotionally intelligent leader, you really begin to impact others to be able to make influence, to be able to act, and to be able to really make impact. Emotional intelligence, started by Daniel Goleman, is really based in four pillars um, that I really want to highlight. And they really move from this starting with self. So, self awareness, self management, social awareness, and relationship management. The goal of these pillars is really to move step by step, not to start with relationship management and then go to self awareness, but it's really a kind of like a builder upon blocks. So, with self awareness, it starts with you as a leader. There's this saying that I've learned over time that you really can't lead yourself, you can't lead others without first leading yourself. And so it's important to really master being able to lead yourself. And you start first with self awareness. And so, with emotional intelligence, it's really being able to understand your own emotions. Can you name your emotions? Do you know what emotions are? Do you know how your emotions influence your response to different things and different situations that you encounter on a daily basis? That really shifts you into the self management part of emotional intelligence. And in that self-management part, it really aligns with congruence with your values and any type of goal that you're pursuing. And how do you react emotionally to those things as a human being, or the life that you're experiencing when we think about you as a leader, personally and professionally? Once have that awareness and management for yourself, then you're able to pick up and understand the emotions of those that you are engaging with. So when we talk about self to systems, we first must have a mastery of our own selves and our own emotional well-being. Then we're able to pick up and read the room and have better energy when it comes in our interaction with others. So social awareness is really knowing having that empathy that someone put in the chat as their six words, and really caring about what other people are experiencing, putting yourself in their shoes. The management of that is being able to have good trust and conflict and collaboration with others in cultures and in our different communities. As we navigate through this presentation, I really want you to hear what are some common words that you hear that between the different practices and pillars that are being shared. So I always like to sum up emotional intelligence as awareness and management, awareness of self and then awareness of others. Once you can be aware and manage yourself, then you're able to be aware and with great health manage and others. And so being an emotionally intelligent person and leader, then you're able to connect that. There's five exemplary practices that have been research based that comes from Kuntz and Posner. I always mess their name up, but this is something when I was a school counselor, we adopted these five exemplary leadership practices in our school. And those five practices are based in five different components: model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. When we integrate emotional intelligence and combine this with exemplary practices of leadership, we look at component one, model the way, really being values based and understanding how your values are influenced by your emotions and setting the example. Role modeling in your culture and in your climate. So, if we were to shift and kind of tie these two together, model the way really would fall within that self awareness and self management, being very values aligned. When we transition into aspire a shared vision and challenging the process, that gets more into that social awareness and social management. Because now we are working in collaboration with others, we are enlisting others, you are looking for opportunities for growth, and you're fostering collaboration when we move down into enabling others to act. So that first model the way really is the start of it and really works with the self-awareness. As a leader, you set the tone, you set the example. And then lastly, you encourage the heart. We circle back to celebrating values and victories. So that combination of the four pillars of emotional intelligence and the exemplary leadership, as you can see, there are some overlaps. Modeling the way. What do people see you as a leader? Do they see you being able to handle your emotions? Do they see you as being emotionally informed? Do they are your cultures as a leader, are they values aligned? When you work within your teams and in your systems, the places that you lead, are you inspiring a shared vision? Are you working together collaboratively, fostering collaboration with others and strengthening them and building capacity in them as you're leading them? And so think about the teams that you lead. So when I asked you in the beginning to write your list of where you lead, some of you all said in your home. So you may lead a home team with your family dynamics. Some of you said that you lead in your faith-based organization. You may be a leadership. I oversee the mental health team at my faith-based organization. Some of you may lead a state association team. You may be on the board and you may lead a subcommittee. You may lead an advisory committee in your school. I used to be the MTSS chair. You may lead MTSS, or you may be a school improvement team member. So think about your areas in which you lead and the teams that you govern and that you're over. You may lead a student group because you're after school coach, or you're after school chair, or you are the volunteer chair. So where do you lead? When we think about the five practices of cohesive teams, from self to systems, that bottom level of this triangle is trust. When we connect that to emotional intelligence and those four pillars, relational trust is a part of self management. I mean, social management, relationship management. And so, the very low level, when you think about your environments and where you're leading and tapping into the leader within you, is you must have areas of trust. When you're able to create a culture of trust, then that creates the opportunity for healthy conflict to be a part of your teams and your different dynamics as a leader. And when people feel like they can are in spaces where they can have healthy conflict, where we can agree to disagree, then there's a greater commitment to the shared vision. When we go back to those exemplary leadership practices, that really goes back to being able to having a shared vision, a shared vision, excuse me, inspiring others to act and enabling them to act and to challenge those processes. Because then we've built trust in one another, we're able to give feedback, we're able to have healthy conflict and not always agree, but we're receptive to new ideas, but we're also committed to a common cause. And when those things are taking place, then we are able as a team to hold one another accountable to get to the optimal goal, which is the results that we want to see, and that's impact and outcomes. So I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask you, after hearing those three pillars and practices, what are some overlapping themes that you heard? Put those in the chat. I've put a list to get us started, but what are some things that you heard? that you saw in those visualizations as overlapping themes. When we think about the four pillars of emotional intelligence, self awareness, self management, social awareness, relationship management, awareness and management. Awareness of self helps you to be aware of others and to manage others. When we think about those exemplary practices of leadership, modeling the way, it starts with you. They're looking at you. You set this example and you set the tone. Then inspiring a shared vision, enabling others to act, challenging processes. And then those five levels of cohesive teams. We build trust in one another. We're able to have healthy conflict because we set a culture where we don't always have to agree and we're open to diverse and different perspectives. Makes us more committed, which connects to inspired, committed to an inspired shared vision. And there's increased level of accountability, which helps us to achieve our end results. So, what are some of the overlapping themes that you saw? Compassion, accountability, starting with yourself, very good. Perspective taking, very good. In the center, some of the overlapping themes that you will see in these different pillars and practices are values. So, self awareness, self management is very values based. How do your values align with your emotional responses? How are your cultures and the values of others when we get into social awareness? Are we taking and perceiving other people's values and how we are orchestrating our cultures? Trust. There are some overlaps in cohesive teams and trust when we look at emotional intelligence in that pillar. Collaboration, working together. So, in order to inspire shared vision and enabling others to act, we have to work together. For the impact, it is not something that we do in isolation. It is something that we do in the collective. But in collaborating, we have to make space for conflict and how we respond to conflict as a leader. So that connects to the emotional intelligence when we talk about our emotions, when we are not satisfied with things or things impact us. How do we respond with that self management? How do we respond to others when we disagree? And then communication. How are we communicating? How are we receiving feedback? How are we giving feedback? And then lastly, there's opportunity. So the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to make change, because and there's the opportunity to celebrate. Pause. I do apologize for taking us backwards. So those overlapping themes. So tonight we're talking about tapping in to the leader within, from self to systems. So when we think about systems, one of my favorite things that I always like to reference is that it starts with you. You are at the center of everything that you do. Professor Mike, I know he doesn't like for me to acknowledge him as professor, but he said it starts with yourself. So we're not talking about systems to self, it is self to systems. And when we look at the ecological system and that theory, the individual in that theory is the individual and how all these different systems cultivate and impact and influence our development as humans. And so I want you to take a moment to look at the different systems. Think about your systems and think about the different things that have influenced you from childhood to adulthood. The micro system, your home, your school, your neighborhood. When you think about where you lead, your home is a microsystem. Your school is a microsystem. Your immediate family. That is why I asked, where do you lead? Because it starts with you. It doesn't start when you go to your professional space. It starts with you and wherever you are showing up. And then you look at the meso system. Again, schools, work, neighborhood, but it's expanded out a little bit. And then the ecosystem, our community organizations, our workplaces. And then lastly, that macro system. When we think about systems from a systems lens, it starts with self and then it expands out. If we were to take that and to correlate that into layers of leadership, it would look something like this. Again, self, going back to that emotional intelligence and your awareness of yourself and your impact and your influence. And then the next thing would be your teams. So that team may be in your home space, as your personal space, or it may be in your professional space. But what is your team? And then lastly, how does your team as a collective make impact and influence on the systems around them? How do you impact the culture? The educational culture, the social political culture, your community culture, but how are you making impact on your culture? So let's dive into that. Just a few highlights. It starts with you. That's not going to go away. You are at the center of it all. If your energy is not good, then it throws off the energy of those around you. As the young people say, you match energy for energy. So think about you as in a school setting and think about that young person who comes in and may have an off day. Or think about you as the adult and you're having an off day. How people respond to you based on your facial expressions, based on how you show up in a room, it starts with you. The first thing about leading yourself that you need to think about is what values are leading you? Leading yourself is very values based. So for me, I'll start with myself and share two values that I lead with, maybe three, are faith, connection, and balance. So they impact everything that I do. And they lead the way and drive everything that I do in my personal and professional spaces. My faith, connection, and balance. As part of exemplary leadership, one of the things that it tells you to do is to clarify your values. And then also to understand the values of others. When you understand your values, it really helps you to understand how you lead, why it's important, and then it helps you to understand how people show up in your settings and what's important to them. So, my questions to you tonight is what values guide your work? Think about that. By now, I'm going to make the assumption, but I may be wrong, that over time, you've done some type of value sorting activity at some point in your professional career. If you have not, it is something that will be great to do. And values are something that are not set, they can change over time. What I valued 10 years ago, very different than what I value in 2025. What I valued when I started as a school counselor, very different than what I valued in 2025, 20 years later. So, what are your values? First thing. And then in the chat, I want you to put what is a leadership value? Thank you so much, Professor Mike. What is a personal leadership value that guides your work as a leader? What's a personal leadership value that guides your work as a leader? Put that in the chat because you need to know what is it that you value? What's leading you? Because that impacts how you interact with people. Again, emotional intelligence, self awareness, self management, social awareness, social management, honesty, integrity. Thank you, Nancy. Communication, unconditional positive regard. Thank you. Lots of honesty, compassion, inclusion. So when we talk about leading ourselves, it starts with you. You first and foremost must know, what is it that I value and how is it influencing the decisions that I make as a leader? Once you know what you value, then you really need to understand, what is it that other people are valuing in your respective places, in your home, in your faith-based setting, in your schools that you work in your community organizations. What do we value here? What's driving our work? When we talk about mission and vision, it should be a shared collective understanding of the values of everyone, because that gives us better insight and understanding as leaders, as school counseling leaders. What are your students' values? What are your peers' value? If you work in a department, what's our value? Someone may value time and you may not, but it'll help you understand, if they value time, why they may be like this. Someone may value transparency, and so they want to know truth. They want to know the real deal when a decision is being made. What is it that you value? So that's what, when we talk about that first layer of leadership, as it connects to self, to systems, very values based, very emotion based in regards to how your emotions influence your decisions. Emotional intelligence, modeling the way in that correlation. When you have mastery of yourself, then that is when you can shift and navigate to those and better understand and work more effectively with understanding and clarity with your teams. Two key things that are important here when we talk about leading and tapping from within, from self to systems. Relational trust is very important. So one of the pillars of emotional intelligence and self-management was relational trust. What regard do you have towards people? What integrity, personal integrity, do you have for people? Competence. Do people see you as reliable? When we have good relational trust, and trust as that foundational level in our teams of cohesive teams, we create healthy school cultures, healthy communities, healthy collectives, and we create safe spaces for people to have healthy conflict. Being on a team, you don't want everybody on the team to be yes women, yes men, yes people. So we have to have different perspectives, but those perspectives are able to receive and disagreed upon when we trust one another. We can trust to say what we need to say in these spaces. We can trust to correct in these spaces. We can trust to receive feedback, and it come from a very sincere space in these spaces. Oh, Dr. Harrison, I like that you said that. Healthy conflict is hard. Very good. It is hard. And that is why we need to create over time relational trust, because the easy parts are always easy and they feel comfortable. But when we have to do uncomfortable things, if we have created safe spaces for healthy conflict, we can have those hard conversations. We can have those difficult conversations. We need to have those conversations. That's part of leadership, is that sometimes you have to have those hard conversations, even with people who are your favorites, even with people who you highly revere. We're going to talk about blind spots later on. But when you have created teams, healthy teams, that where there's vulnerability, where there's trust, where values are respected, then we can have that healthy conflict. When we don't, then there's discord. So I want you to take a moment of reflection and ask yourself, what is the trust level? Rate yourself with the trust level within the teams that you lead or that you are part of. If you were to put it in one being the lowest, five being the highest. And no one knows the teams. We didn't ask for teams. So this is just in general. The teams that you are a part of, how would you rate the trust level? One being the lowest, five being the highest. Put that in the chat. Very good. Some strong fours. So you want people to be able to trust you. You want people to be able to feel like that they can be authentic on the team, that their voices can be heard, that their voices are not silenced, that they are able, that ideas are able to be shared. That comes from trust, not from the loudest person speaking all the time, but trust. When we talk about enabling others to act, this is where that exemplary leadership practice would show. Inspiring a shared vision and enabling others to act. Others act and they're able to have commitment because of trust, conflict, but moving up that triangle. And when we're able to lead ourselves, lead teams, then together collectively, we are then able to lead systems. And leading systems, two important things that are very important when we think about the systems is you first need to think, what system do you desire to make an impact in? You're one person, so you can't do it all, but you can do something. And so, what system do you desire to make an impact? The meso system, the macro system, the micro system? Where do you desire to make an impact? Is it on a micro level at your individual school, or is it at a macro level, your district level and beyond? When you think about advocacy and influence, and then kind of think about systems as a points of a spectrum where you can do it simultaneously or at the same time. Maybe you want to make an impact in your school, but you also want to be an advocate for some state level initiatives. Or maybe you just want to have one concentrated effort and you're not biting off more than you can chew or handle. So when we talk about leading systems, what system do you desire to impact? And that really goes with along with what is your sphere of influence? So you know where you lead, but where is your influence? Where do you have influence to make impact? Is it in your community? Is it in your educational space? Is it in a business community or business partnership? Civic? Is it on a board? And these are just a few spheres that I put that I'm connected to. Is it in a sorority or fraternity? Where are your spheres of influence? And what's the biggest leadership challenge right now in that sphere? What are some of those leadership challenges? When we talk about leading from self to systems, leading within and being on this continuum, what is your sphere of influence? Put that in the chat. Where do you have influence? Your sphere of influence, put that in the chat. So you know where you lead, but where is your influence? Are they in the same places that you lead? Are there other places? Family, school, church. Very good. Community. So think about, where is it that you want to lead? Where do you want to make this impact? When we think about leading from self, teams to systems in the collective, where is your sphere of influence? Because that really informs you as a leader. And in these spaces, you're going to face situations, you're going to face conflict, you're going to face opportunity, you're going to face values that don't always align with yours, but you need to understand. You're going to face communication. And how do you communicate with those people? You're going to face the opportunity where you're needing to challenge the process, and innovation is going to be needed, advocacy for causes. And then you're going to face the opportunity for celebration. So I want to pause and reground us. And I want you, when you think about self to systems, let's look at these pillars and practices. So, 4 pillars of emotional intelligence. Again, it really moves, it's really grounded in awareness and management, self awareness, self management, social awareness, and relationship management. They overlap. We see that word values when we transition to modeling the way for the 5 practices of exemplary leadership. You set the example. So it starts with you. And when you're able to master you and how your values, how you show up, how you're able to manage others, and then you're able to inspire that shared vision, challenge the process that gets into advocacy work, influence and impact. You're able to enable others to act. So that leads us into our work with teams, trust, conflict, commitment. When those things are cultivated and we have those foundations set and secure, people are able to commit and work together. And then there's a level of accountability to get that end result of whatever the goal that we've set forth. So, what layers, as you think about this, what layer needs the most improvement when you think about self, you leading a team, or you leading systems? Where do you need the improvement when we think about tapping the leader within from self to systems? Where do you need the most improvement as a leading yourself? Is it in leading teams, or is it in leading systems? Take a moment and put that in the chat. Where do you see the need for most improvement when you think about how you're leading and who you're leading? Are you doing a good job leading yourself? You do more with leading teams? Are you making an impact on the culture and systems, but not doing well with leading yourself? Or are you doing a great job leading yourself? But when it comes to working with others and leading others, that's a point of growth that's needed. Leading systems, leading systems. Okay, great. Thank you. So when we lead self to systems, there are some leadership blind spots that we need to make sure that we be aware of. And so, again, those overlapping themes, we saw values where it was an overlap, communication, collaboration. But when these things are not secure, when they're not in place strongly, Then some of the leadership blind spots as school counselor leaders and as leaders in our homes and leaders in other domains, communication disconnect is a leadership blind spot. When we're not aware of our communication practices and how they impact the interactions in our relationship with others. Lack of empathy can be a leadership blind spot. And when we think about a blind spot, that's what we don't see. So that's why we have that picture there. That mirror is supposed to allow you to see what you normally would not see if you didn't have it. Avoiding difficult conversations can be a leadership blind spot. Conversations that need to be had, feedback that needs to be given. When we think about in the concept of a team, if we're not having those difficult conversations, then it could cause divide. It could cause things to be dismantled. Lack of psychological safety. When people don't feel like they can be vulnerable, when they can be heard, when they're not seen as human. And then inconsistent accountability. Think about your processes and your practices, your policies. Is there checks and balances? These can be leadership blind spots. When we think about systems, processes, and our practices. But with the blind spots, there is leadership growth commitment from self to systems. And so there are 4 R's that I think are very important when we talk about our work from tapping the leader within, emotional intelligence from self to systems. 4 things that you need to do, the 4 R's: reflect daily to cultivate that awareness. You need to be aware of yourself daily, others daily, to cultivate. Do you understand how you are being impacted by anything that you're experiencing in life as a leader and others who are experiencing life and changes and transitions? Our educational landscape has changed. Are you sensitive to the impact that may be having on yourself and others? For example, regulate your emotions to make sure you're able to maintain balance. When leading, it's important to be emotionally grounded because it's not always easy to lead. And who takes care of the leader when the leader is taking care of others? So it's important to know how to regulate your emotions and maintain balance and to understand how your emotions may be impacting you physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and any other part. Reconnect relationally and lead with empathy. Understand the people that you're working with. Put yourself in their shoes, understand their values. That goes back to that foundation of relational trust, and trust being the very foundational level of a cohesive team. And then lastly, reinforce culture. Align your systems with your values. So when we looked at that ecosystem, individuals, mesosystem, and then it expanded beyond. But are our values being aligned with our systems? And are our systems aligned with our values? Start where you are. Start in your home system, your school system, your individual school, whatever systems that you have immediate connection to. Make sure that you are reinforcing culture. So as we close out, I want to know, what is your leadership commitment? What is one leadership shift when we talk about improvement and being a leader who leads from within, from self to systems, emotionally intelligent, transforming and influencing processes, practices, systems, and culture? What's one thing that you're considering starting tomorrow? Put that in the chat. Delegating. Thank you. So what's one leadership shift when you think about these pillars and practices as an emotionally intelligent leader based on those 4 pillars: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. And we blend that with those 5 exemplary practices, modeling the way, enabling others to act, inspiring a shared vision, reflecting more consistently, advocating more balance, saying no, very good. And cohesive teams, trust, conflict, commitment, accountability. We're able to get results, respecting everyone's time. So think about your leadership shift. As an emotionally intelligent leader, it starts with self in order for you to fluidly move to systems. But when you're able to master yourself, you're able to work cohesively with your team and make impact in culture. So I will close with this closing thought. Leaders who are emotionally aware and consistent in values build trust and safety that strengthens teams, enabling them to influence systems and cultures impactfully. A little small saying that I heard today: any deed, good or small, do it good or not at all. And remember, we all contribute to the system and have a great role in impacting and influencing. First, lead yourself, then you can lead others. Thank you. I'm going to put an evaluation in the chat. I would love your feedback, and I'm going to open up to see if you have any questions regarding anything that was shared. So I wanted to provide opportunity for questions, comments, anything, good or small. Do it good or not at all. And remember, we all contribute to the system. If you want to stay in touch, please scan the QR code, but please fill out the evaluation because I would love your feedback.
We appreciate you, Dr. Bryant. I see everybody was giving you the reactions. I'm gonna give you some more reactions. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. You did amazing. I
Thank you.
I always, and you know me, with lead starting with yourself first. You got to start with you. If you don't know nothing about yourself, you ain't getting nowhere. Lead a horse of water, but you can't make him drink.
Look.
So, thank you, everyone. Please fill out the survey. I appreciate everyone for attending. Thank you again, Dr. Keisha Bryant.
I appreciate. Thank you, New York State, for allowing me to share this learning opportunity and space with you. My other N family, NY and NC together tonight. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Always got a special place in my heart. Come on, NC. But thank y'all so much. Thank you so much. Please fill out that survey. I hope that you guys took a lot of the tools with you, values, just understanding who you are, understanding how you react for sure. Definitely digging deeper into that emotional intelligence, which a lot of people really lack. So we appreciate you, Dr. Bryant, for helping people get back on the road and road to enlightenment, we'll call it.
Thank you. Thank you for this time.
Dr. Bryant, our attendees always ask for the PowerPoint. Can you send that to me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes,
Cool.
sir.
Thank you. Okay. So upcoming is we have a webinar next Thursday? No, 29th, next Wednesday. Success Insights, Strategic Counseling Practices to Boost Academic and Social Development. Our conference is coming up in a couple of weeks. You can still register. Rochester's great this time of year. If you have any questions, hop on right now. We got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, we're here to talk. I do also, in addition to the conference, I do want to let you know that we are also running a book club. We are reading The Let Them Theory
Yeah.
So I just put that in the chat. We also, like Bob just said, with Dr. Elsie, we got Dr. Elsie going on, and our conference is from November 12th to the 14th, right, Bob? Did I get those right? Did I get that right?
Pretty close, 13th through 15th.
13th to 15th. Oops, my bad, because I got to be there
One
from
day.
12th to the 14th, but 12th to the 15th.
Cool.
Any questions, anyone? Please go to the NISCA website for all things professional development and to help you just center your practice around ASCA and just best practices or things that actually work. Please, y'all, if y'all need any help, we will be setting up more webinars. We have a few more coming up in November. If anybody wants to learn grant writing, we suggest you make sure to stay tuned for November. We are trying to teach counselors as many skills that they can to make sure that even if, you know, the Department of Education doesn't want them, somebody else wants you. That's my goal as a school counselor with the Professional Development Committee, making sure that counselors can actually feel wanted. And, you know, what's that word we said? What we need to feel appreciated and wanted, that sense of belonging? We need to feel, there's an I word. What is that I word? Inclusion.
That we matter.
We want to be included too, y'all. We want to be included too, y'all. Come on. And I'm going to get off my soapbox. I appreciate y'all. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you.
Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody.
Keisha
Thank
Bryant.
you, everyone. Thank
Check in
you.
later.
Thank you. Have a great evening.